2011. Right? Facebook actually became algorithmic, moving from chronological become, and that's exacerbated the inequality in terms of people who are powerful could become more powerful because they could manipulate. And then in Indonesia, I would say 2014, which is around the same time in the Philippines, and then 2016, especially in the Philippines, and then you have other countries like Cambodia, probably, I would say around 2020, right, started to really look at this industry, the political economy, what I call, is disinformation plug and play, is the result of that. 2014, Jokowi, right, that JustNet wasn't plug and play, but at that moment, and over time it become become a model, become a real industry. And now we are, of course we are in the worst situation because the platform economy, the manipulation, what the so-called algorithmic politics, right, have become major as in the industry. And people who have capacity to buy power also they know where to go, how to find them, what to do. At the same time, we also have the mass who have this dependency. No matter what, people they become dependent on in their real life. So they know probably that the so-called ambient propaganda, right? They know that their consent, some of them know that their consent are manufactured. Yeah. But it's too late. You kind of like, you have this dependency. To live is to be on social media, right? To be online is part of life. It's no longer online or offline. So I think that's the combination of all these factors. I think the natural evolution, but also certain episodes that accelerate the situation to come to where we are.
That's an excellent answer, Melina. Very, very clear. You can leave it to Melina, you really to understand the systemic, structural, infrastructural. Wait, we're not there yet. You're already getting applause for that answer.
Thank you.
But also the historical kind of context, right? It's very important, especially as we go into our conference where we zoom in on the kind of micro cases that we are looking at, to also remember this context and constellation. So, any questions? Yes, Moses.
Hi Melina, Moses here. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I think you have pretty much shown us how concerning and how complex this sort of matter is and the need for more research. But I think at the same time it worries us with the fact that this goes twofold, right? You have the interaction of the top down, where you have, means and approaches to regulate this, tell the elites that pretty much try to regulate this manipulation, but at the same time they're the one who have the money to pretty much use it. And on the other hand, you have the bottom-up, but I'm more interested in asking about the bottom-up approach, because in the bottom-up, are we basically telling sort of people to use the same sort of tools of these sort of operations, which has its own ethical sort of challenges, right? Are we manipulating public discourse to fight the resistant? But at the same time, when you resist, you create more fragmentation, more polarization. Or is there sort of a better alternative to which we want to convey this message towards, the public, right? Where we don't tell them, well, let's resist by using the same tools that these sort of operations use, but perhaps there's a better way. So I'm trying to see if there's there's already something that's being discussed about that, or we're still yet to grasp, a much better solution than sort of the resistance, that you said was existent as well as matter. Thank you.
Yeah, so the dependency of the resistance to the tools that the infrastructures that they want to defeat, yeah? Here's another question. I'll just collect 3.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation. It's been wonderful to listen and to see you on screen.
Maybe briefly tell your name, because you can't see
Right. My name is Paxia Satrio, and I'm really curious. Can you hear me, or is the microphone?
Yes, so you have to switch the microphone, otherwise she won't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually really curious about this platform, the platform side, especially because a lot of these malactors, the exposure of them really relies on platforms being able to verify whether or not these influence operations take place. So we rely on some type of like a ground truth. And if not platforms, there's also these independent journalists, right, that we usually rely on to expose actors and influence operations. So as we see a lot of pushback from platforms and a lot of resources being cut into fact-checking teams, we've seen that with Meta this year, and we see that with X, especially over the last 2 years. I'm wondering what you think different types of actors, whether they're part of the state, platforms, academics, or civil society, what can be done in order to kind of keep up with this rapidly evolving disinformation industry?
Okay. Thank you. Big questions. I'm giving you one more, Melina, for Bart.
Hi, Anna, Bart here. Thanks for the wonderful talk, and I also very much appreciated the artwork that you put on. That was very nice. But also the powerful message that you brought across. My question is about how you use the word consent, which particularly when referring to Chomsky comes with connotations of consent with the ruling regimes, those in power, while an argument could be made that these algorithms are neutral in the sense for anybody who uses them, and could also be used to undermine a consent or ruling consensus within society, as we see, for example, with Russian disinformation campaigns in Europe. So I wonder if you could elaborate a bit on whose consent and what kind of consent this AMC that you so nicely elaborate is actually producing.
So, Melina, you had 3 questions. I'll let you answer them together or one by one, whatever you think is more feasible.
So thank you so much for 3 wonderful, great questions. So I'll just answer word because that's the last one, and I think it's not the easiest. But so basically, I think as I refer to consciousness more broadly, it's not necessarily always right as a public acceptance or to elite-driven agenda, like in Chomsky or Lippmann's. And it's not necessarily active agreement, but it is rather as a sort of like a manufactured passivity. People believing, trusting, or at least not resisting what is presented, right? Because I think in my research I found out that people sometimes they believe they actually have opinion, even when they are not, right? I think most people want to believe they are smart enough to figure it out, right? And I have this, I graduated from one of the best university in Indonesia, Kitlv, right? And all of my anecdotal example come from WhatsApp group. These people are highly educated, and they think they know, right? They think they're informed. Even when it comes to sometimes it is like videos that is proven to be made by AI, for example, later on. People still would try to find a way to consent, right? So I think that's what is different. I mean, obviously this is my first time actually presented this idea, which is thank you for accommodating me at all, right? Entertaining this idea. That's and there is like I've been thinking in my other paper that I've been writing is basically the shifting to algorithm may also sort of like the consent shift from a consciously granted agreement to identify behavior alignment to platform that continuously optimize, for example, implicit consent, affective consent, and algorithmic consent. What count as consent is computed, right? So I think this is more complex than just like a kind of consent that we traditionally
That's
refer to
interesting.
in Bitcoin. And thank you for the question, because I think it gives me sort of like time to reflect, and obviously I feel that I will, in the future, I will elaborate further.
Well, Madeleine, if I just very quickly jump in, what I got from your talk just now is actually the shift from passive consent to active participatory consent. It's
Yeah.
performance of consent that people do.
Like, for granted, format of consent, yeah,
It's very interesting. Do you also want to very briefly answer one or two other
Yes, so,
questions?
and so I think the second questions, thank you. Well, I didn't get the first name.
Axia.
Axia, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Axia.
Axia,
Axia.
yeah, thank you so much for the questions. Yeah, you're right. I think that the thing is, the reason why Meta changed, right, from moderating, verifying, and then say, okay, we will rely on community. Because then they honestly don't really care, right? Don't really care about verification per se, but they care about make it easier, make it more effective for targeted advertisement to work, to be more effective. So it's all about revenue. So, but I think, so at this point, it is, I don't think it makes sense to rely on platforms, right? But I believe that, and unfortunately, a kind of like fact-checking that is organic, I'm not saying it's not useful. I think within certain locality, within certain issue, it works. But in the larger scale, its very use is taxing for very little gain. So what I think that we need to do is a really network of academics, activists, and disaffected elites, right? We need to have a movement to push for transparency and accountability of algorithms. Algorithmic audits, for example, right? And the global north, global south, we need to really push the platform to be accountable. At least disclosing, right? Audit when we ask. Doesn't have to reveal recipes, right? Of the ingredient behind it from their kitchen. But it is just simply to reveal what they do, right? And I think that, and then when it comes to clarification, I was thinking that a simple thing that social media platform could do, which is labeling political ads. And that will make a very big difference. It is easy to do, and it is cheap, right? And I've been looking at researching the mechanism of it. It's not difficult at all. If you declare political campaigns on the advertisement and go to the back of the machine and let everything that is political ads being labeled, if we could push for that, I believe it will have tremendous effects. And I think there are other things, but I could go on and talking about various things, right? That entailing verification that we can do. But certainly we need a social movement to push platforms to do little things, right? Regarding transparency of their algorithm, verification, labeling. That's just like we ask Coca-Cola and KFC, all of milk, to declare in their boxes, right? Why we cannot do that with the platforms, right? I think I have to move to the first questions. Moses, it's good to see you again on screen still, right? I think you are right. It is very concerning to really think that the resistance has to use the same technique and use the same tool, right? You cannot dismantle the house with the master tool, right? So I, in my conversation with civil society activists, I typically say it's part of the strategy. I think it is important to use social media. Why? Because your audience, your folks are there. However, to rely solely on that is a big mistake. Because I think there are a lot of things that could be missing. The gain, probably the speed, the scale, yes, you could gain. You mobilize faster, you mobilize wider population, yes. But it's not necessarily the only things that you need to do, right? Because social movement need deliberation. Social movement need not only just awareness, but also capacity building, gaining trust, building solidarity is politicization of love. We need to know each other. So I think to put this tactic, not with the blind eyes, but also open your eyes, but also put that within larger repertoire of social movement. I think Jatun obviously is an expert in social movements. Basically, I think to the slowness, all but anti-algorithmic, anti-polarity, non-visibility. For every visibility, you need invisibility in order to survive. For every wide scale, like speedy mobilization, you need deep deliberation, the counter of it, right? I think to be able to control at what point you are visible, you are viral, and mobilize at what point you actually lead anti-algorithmic action is very important in order to maintain that longitudinal, right, and long-lasting resistance that is not just a road and hot notes.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
Thank you so much. So in addition to all the one-piece flags that you see mostly on social media, actually these days, we also need deliberation, deep subject area development, etc. I'm so sorry, Medina. I would love to hear so much more from you, and I'm sure there's going to be many more questions, but we have to move on. I want to thank you so much for tuning in with us from all the way from Canada, and hope to see you very soon in real life again. Thank you so much, Medina. Then just very briefly, what I wanted to say about the purposes of the objectives of the conference. So we workshop, we gathered all these papers, selected from many more actually that were sent to us in abstracts. Of course, to get a nice overview of what kind of research is being done on this topic these days. We've moved a long way since the first studies by Oxford Internet Institute. To see what younger scholars especially are up to on this topic, but also to see what kind of parallels we can identify in terms of theoretical engagement, conceptual framing, but also in terms of methodology, because the research project that we did internationally and first in Indonesia as a pilot was mixed methods approach, where we combined SNAs, network analysis, with digital ethnography and in-depth qualitative interviews. That one was actually the core of our project, I would say. And we want to see how others also try to combine methods or use different methods and see what kind of different information then comes out of this various research. So at the end of the conference, we also want to have a workshop. We also want to have some time to gather everything together to see if there are some patterns to be found, if we can detect some sort of synthesis or synergy between the different approaches. But first, I would say let's just go deep into the individual papers and see what we can learn from everyone. And I don't know, are we having a short break or are we moving on straight to the panel one? Panel one, eh? Okay, then I'll go to the apps. Enjoy, I will.
Thank you, Dr. Ayatun Sastramijaya, for conducting the session, and our appreciation goes to the keynote speaker, Professor Melinali, for sharing such valuable insight. We now continue with our first panel entitled Towards the Comparative Study of Influence Operations. The session will highlight comparative approach, allowing us to examine how influence operations manifest across different contexts and political systems. To lead this discussion, I'm honored to invite the moderator, Dr. Bangkit Wiryawan, to guide the session. He is